So maybe we are going to go on with the big problem of rating with Vandine. And thank you very much, David, for your presentation. And
yes, thank you, David. It was very interesting. Thank you, Rosiada. So, hello, everyone. My name is Vandine Tran. I'm the founder of Vegan Finance. Also, I'm working as an ESG consultant and a business analyst. I decided to found Vegan Finance in 2018 because at that time and still nowadays, it's not obvious to see clearly to which extent a business or any activity meets with animal welfare standards, or even better with the definition of veganism. Basically, no animal exploitation at all, not only for food, but for services also. So I decided to do this for individuals, for investors, for institutional investors, but also for customers, or for maybe workers or any employees. As David mentioned, it can be interesting for customers, or also for partnerships. You may want to work within a company that respect your ethics or your beliefs. So to do so, it is very important to build a sound methodology to assess activities. Today, I would like to share with you the fundamentals and the basics of this methodology. And this methodology is the result of several attempts. So in 2018, I started to test this methodology on French companies that are on the CAC 40 and index SBF 120. And since 2020, we are using this improved, enriched methodology, assessing the companies of the Standard & Poor 500. So I will share my screen and show some elements of this methodology. So just to give you an overview, the activities are rated on a 5-point scales from -2 to +2. So on the left, you have the non-vegan activities, which are rated -2 or -1. Then in the middle, you have what we call transitional activities, and plus on the right, in green, you have the vegan activities, which are rated +1 and +2. So maybe for the vegan people, or it may be quite obvious, but I would like to underline some points. So for non-vegan activities, of course, you have meat. You have also dairy activities, which is very important, because as you may know, to produce milk, a mother cow needs to be pregnant, and every year she has to be pregnant to produce milk. And if it's a male veal, the veal may off very often and in slaughterhouses. So that's why dairy is also very, very important, because it's animal exploitation, skins, experimentation, and so on. And what I would like also to underline is all ESG matters that indirectly harm animals, such as deforestation, pollutions, or the use of production of weapons are negatively rated. So all these kind of activities are basically excluded from a vegan or animal welfare portfolio. About transitional activities, what does that mean? It means that you still have some animal exploitation, but you have an improvement of living conditions for animals. So the company or the organization may implement animal welfare standards, have an animal welfare policy, use animal welfare metrics in its annual reports, having cruelty-free targets and so on. And all what is written in italic, it is linked with classical ESG matters, because it's even if it's indirect impact, it can be very important. For instance, if you don't use fertilizers, don't use pesticides, you have a good, you avoid a harmful impact on the environment and on animals. And on the right, you have the vegan activities. What does that mean? It means that the heart of the business model is vegan, ideally, but it can mean also that you have started some vegan business lines. You promote plant-based food, beverages, or products or services via financing, sponsoring, and creating vegan funds. So if you want to build a vegan portfolio, you will have to focus on such vegan activities. And if you are maybe less strict and or you wish to engage with companies and help for a transition, you can consider also a zero score with transitional activities. On the following slide, I would like to share with you the principles we are using to build this methodology. So the first principle is to explain why this company is not vegan or is vegan or respect animal standards or not. Because about the challenges, sometimes you don't easily have access to information. The information is missing or the information is misleading. You may face to some kind of greenwashing. Or maybe there is something good that is done for animals, but it's not disclosed in the report. So someone has to dig a bit and to share the information with you. And that's the second principle. We try to be transparent with our methodology. So in this methodology, you can have a sum up on our website, but also we try to push to companies to become more transparent about their targets, about their trajectories, about the metrics that are related to animal welfare or veganism. And that's the third part of engagement, because when we are making our analysis of any company, we might see some points that can be easily improved. And then it's not really difficult for us or anyone to write just a letter to the investor relation manager or to give a call to discuss with the managers. So the company we are assessing will try to improve its business model to help animals, but also because it will help itself with the reputation, because as David says, there is a market and the market is made of 95 or 93% of non-vegan and it will have a very good impact for the whole society. More about the methodology. Just to be clear, we use the zero harm principle. That means that if you want to build a perfectly purely vegan portfolio, all the activities inside of the parent company, the companies of the supply chain should not harm animal in any way. We were a bit inspired, or we can make a comparison with the Gnh principle of the EU taxonomy. It means the do not significant harm principle, but there's a main difference, because in the Gnh principle, you have the word significant, and this word can be interpreted in several ways. So just to be clear, so there should not be any doubt, we use the zero harm principle to define the vegan activities, which are scored +1 and +2. But under this goal, from -2, -1, and 0, you can start to have a gray zone. So how should we rate between transitional activities or non-vegan compliant activities? And here we use thresholds as landmarks. We use relative values, that means percentages. Here we were inspired by the Paris Allied benchmark. So we use, for instance, 1% of revenue, 10% of revenue that may impact negatively animals. And we use also absolute values, which means, for instance, if the company makes $1 million revenue per year by exploiting animals, it should be rated negatively. In the case of missing data, which happens very often, not only for animals issues, but also in ESG matters in general, we use what we call the test of reasonable likelihood, which is recommended by the ESSEC and the SASB to identify if a factor must be considered as material or not. That means that if we have a doubt, and if it's reasonable to think that the company may harmfully impact animals by exploiting them or not, if the probability is greater than a third, 25% or 50%, so okay, if we don't have a sound proof, we use this principle to rate the activity of the project or of the company, of any organization. And in case of very unclarified situations, that means that if we have sent some letters to the company and we don't have an answer, and we still have a lot of doubts, we will always prefer to be on the side of the animals and the planet, not of the company. And this is one of our main principles. So on the first slide, here you have the table that sum up the methodology. So you can see from the bottom to the top the scale from -2 to +2, and so we will review each point and what does that mean. So -2, it's quite obvious. You have clear animal exploitation. It is in the core business of the company. It can be massive harm or repeated harm, and the company may not make engagements, commitments for animals. The company may not disclose metrics in its reports concerning animal rights or animal welfare. I can give you some examples. For instance, Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy, LVMH, which is a very big company, very well capitalized on the CAC 40 and worldwide. Its core business is on skins and leather. If you read its annual report, you will see that its leather division, leather and skin division, represents approximately 1/3 of its total revenue. And historically, it is part of its business model, of its DNA to exploit animals. I would love LVMH to change his business model for a more plant-based business model, but still it might be hard for this company. But if we make the analysis today, it cannot be rated more than -2. -1, what does this represent? It represents that you still have some animal exploitation, but you have included animal welfare standards. The harm is less, but it is still important. Let me give you some example. Before 2017, Danone is a dairy well-known company which makes yogurt based on cow milk. And in 2018, it has started some plant-based divisions, some plant-based yogurts. So this impact can be considered as better because its revenue is coming less from animals. So here it can be rated -1. You have other food companies that have integrated animal welfare standards, as giving more space for their animals, for hens, for instance, or banning antibiotics in the food of their animals. So that's an example of a -1. Here in the list, you may notice also Air France. For instance, once someone asked me why an airline company is rated as a -1. Actually, Air France is the last airline company in the world that accept to transport monkeys to laboratories for experimentation. And it was asked many times by many animal organizations as PETA and others to stop it. But the CEO has claimed that it won't stop, and it's still doing this. So even though the business model is transporting people or goods, the fact that the airline company is supporting animal experimentation it gives to this company a negative mark. About the zero score, this zero score can be given in several ways. Either the company do not exploit animals. It is not in its business model at all to exploit animals, but it may have some controversies, ESG controversies, for example. If I take the example of EDF, which makes electricity from nuclear plants, this controversy is so high that from +1, the company has been downgraded to 0. you can have other situation also. Let's take the example of Pernod Ricard. Pernod Ricard makes alcoholic beverage, so you may think, yeah, they don't use animal products. But for 20 years, the company has sponsored bullfighting. And very recently, in 2020 or this year, they committed to stop this financing. So now this company is on our watch list, and if really we don't have any controversy anymore this year about the bullfighting financing, the company can be rated +1 in 2022. So up to 0, you have animal exploitation, and upper 0, you have vegan compliant activities that can be included in your portfolio. So +1 is very simple. It's the Gnh principle, zero harm. So it can be easy to have a zero harm if your company do not exploit animal because it's not in its business model. For instance, if the companies build electrical parts as Gnh, or works in the IT sector or telecommunication sector as Orange, or maybe it is making ties as Michelin. But to obtain a +2 score, we consider that the company should promote veganism in any way. So very obviously, as Beyond Meat or Oatly, that has been mentioned previously, Impossible Food or Merveille Earth, and also in the automobile industry as Tesla. It's not so obvious that Tesla was 100% vegan, because we made our research very recently, and we just write emails and contacted Tesla retailers to check if we could buy, for instance, Tesla cars, any Tesla cars with animal leather option. And all of them, maybe 4 of them, replied to us and confirmed that it was not possible. So in addition to be a leader in the electric vehicle industry, we can consider that Tesla is a leader in terms of veganism, because it's promoting premium vegan liver with no option of animal leather. So again, if you want to build a portfolio, vegan portfolio, just take +1, +2 score. If you wish to build an animal welfare portfolio, which is not totally vegan, you may consider a 0 score. And as the previous keynote speaker said, yeah, you are not obliged to be vegan to do so. You just be sensitive to the animal issues to invest in such a way. So here, this is a slide about our thresholds. So it's about the absolute value and relative value. I'll be a bit quick on this slide to give the possibility to the listener to give any questions. So the threshold are $100,000. If it's under $100,000 in terms of negative impacts on animals, the score will be 0. Between 100,000 and 1 million, it will be considered as non-compliant with -1. And of course, if the yearly revenue is more than $1 million a year, you can imagine with 1 million how you can harm animals. The score will be -2. The same for relative value, 1%, between 1 and 10%, and more than 10%. Here we were a bit inspired by the deforestation-free funds methodology. So here it's the combination between the relative values and absolute value. So to have a relatively good score of 0, the activity that impacts animal should be less than 1% and less than $100,000 a year. Any other situation will give you a negative rating. Here it's a business case. Just a few words about this. It's a typical case. You have to assess a holding or a big group that has a very large number of business lines. So here in these examples, the business A has, for instance, 50% of revenue from dairy production. Business B sells cow liver as a byproduct for an amount of $800,000 per year. Business C is a new plant-based division with 100% of its business being vegan. The revenue breakdown is 60%, 30%, 10% from A, B, C. So how will you score and rate this corporation? So first, you can assess separately. So business A, of course, with 50% from dairy production is considered as non-vegan. Business B, with $800,000 revenue per year impacting animals, can be considered as vegan non-compliant also, but with a -1, not a -2. And business C is 100% vegan, so has a +2 rating. But okay, so you have A, B, C, 60% non-vegan, 30% vegan non-compliant, and 10% vegan friendly. But you cannot make an average of this. It's not possible. So how would you proceed? So here we proceed by elimination. Okay, we ask ourselves, okay, can we give a +2 score? No, because it's not 100% vegan. You have 90% that activities which is not vegan. Can you give a -2, the lowest score? No, because you have 10% of vegan friendly activity. Could you give a +1? No, because you have the Gnh principle, the do not harm principle, zero harm principle. So here you have 90% harm. So it's between -1 and 0. So can we give a 0 score? So here we say, is it in transition? We consider that at least the company should have 20, 30, 50% of vegan business activity to be rewarded with a transitional rating. 10% it can be considered as a test for the company the company may test the vegan market or just may try to find its public. It may goes back. But if in the case if the analyst understand that the company is really engaged and really want to start this a new vegan business model and change its business model because of other reasons linked with the management, for instance. So it can be the company could have a better score of 0 and not -1. But in this case, in general, with only 10%, we consider that the score would be -1. So I think it remains only one minute left. So maybe I give the opportunity to give any question.
So do you have questions?
Yeah. So we talked about the rating, but do the companies reach out to you to be rated, or is it the contrary? I didn't get that part.
Again, please.
Do the company, they reach out to you to be rated, or is it the contrary?
No. The company do not reach out to us. We pick them from the index of Standard & Poor's 500, for instance, or any index, and we rate them. And we don't receive money from the company either for being rated, because in ESG it can be the case, or for credit rating.
Okay, then who finances your organism, if I can ask?
Well, now it's auto-finance, and we have volunteers that help us. Yeah, right. It's organized as it's registered as an LLC, as a profit company, but we basically work now as a non-profit.
Are there other questions for Vandine? No?